Hi, this is Steve McDonald of Redd Kross and the Melvins. Freak out! And you're listening to the Nothing Shocking podcast.
Want to know what's going on in the world of music? Then tune in to the Nothing Shocking podcast, a non-genre based, all-ages friendly rock and roll program. Join us weekly for interviews with all your favorite rock stars from the mainstream to the underground. You can find us at nothingshocking.libsyn.com or anywhere you download podcasts.
Welcome to the night. You think you know Night Demon? Then the Night Demon Heavy Metal Podcast is for you. Step into the darkness as we peel back the curtain to give you an unprecedented, all-access look into the mind and the heart of the demon. We're talking band history, song analysis, studio anecdotes, stories from the road. It's everything a diehard Night Demon fan could want and more. This is the only place to learn the inside scoop, the deep dive trivia, the untold tales from the band members themselves and those closest to the Night Demon story. Need more? The Sacred Night Demon Crypt will be pried open to reveal demo recordings that have never before seen the light of day, all with in-depth commentary by the band and the people who were there for the writing and recording process. This is a gold mine, a treasure trove of all things Night Demon. Head over to nightdemon.net or wherever you listen to podcasts.
We're putting the band back together.
The numbers all go to 11.
I'm talking about bands that rock. Led Zeppelin. What about Sabbath? AC/DC. Motorhead.
Does that mean it's louder? Is it any louder?
Well, it's one louder, isn't it?
We're not worthy! We're not worthy!
Why don't you just make 10 louder and make 10 be the top number and make that a little louder?
These go to 11.
I get up off the ground and raise my head. Days like this, think I should be dead. One for Satan, two for me. Let's cheat the devil, it's fun, don't you agree?
Welcome to the Nothing Shocking Podcast. I'm your co-host, Jeff Untied, and with me in Dog Bowl Studios is
Coach Nez.
You can find the Nothing Shocking Podcast on Libsyn or any podcatchers, like our Facebook page, or follow us on Twitter at NoShockPod.
You can also find the Nothing Shocking Podcast on Rock Rage Radio every Sunday morning at 7 a.m. Central Time. Our sponsor is Ragged Records, located in downtown Rock Island, Illinois, soon to be coming back to downtown Davenport, Iowa, July 17th. We would like to thank the Hong Kong Sleepover for allowing us to use their music for our intro and bumper ending. Tonight's guest is
Steve McDonald
of Redd Kross.
The Melvins.
What a great interview. Very comical interview, I must say.
Yeah.
He was fun. But hey, let's get to this interview.
All right, good night.
Good night. Steven, welcome to the Nothing Shocking Podcast. I'd like to introduce to you my co-host, Jeff Untied.
Steven, this is going to be fun to talk to you tonight.
Oh, great. Thank you. I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, fantastic. Well, before we get into the Q&A portion of things, so we're located in Rock Island, Illinois. You guys come down to Ribco to play, Melvins. We've seen you 3 times to play. So every time that we've have witnessed you guys play live, Jeff and I say, we got to get this guy on the podcast. So we're so excited to have you on the podcast.
Great. Thank you. Yeah, Rock Island. Yeah, I'd never been to Rock Island until I started playing with the Melvins, and now I've been there like 3 times.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
So the COVID-19 pandemic has halted the music industry this past year. How have you stayed busy during the COVID lockdown?
Oh, I've just been, waiting on my family hand and foot. That's basically washing a lot of dishes, things like that.
Fair enough. During 2020, Redd Kross has re-released 3 of the past albums, Face Shifter, Show World, and can you talk more?
First EP?
Yeah, in the first EP. Can you talk about the reissuing process of those 3 albums?
Sure. I mean, yeah. Well, I guess the other thing I would say is that 2020 was supposed to be a big year for Redd Kross. As you know, probably a lot of people had a lot of big plans for 2020, but we had those 3 reissues planned. Plus, we had a new album in 2019. So we were going to go out and do a big sweeping tour of the U.S. on our own, bigger than we'd have done in a couple decades. And also to celebrate in 2020 was the 40th anniversary of our first EP coming out. So, it was a lot of stuff there. But yeah, so the story of getting those records reissued, so the Face Shifter and Show World, those are records that Redd Kross did in the 90s on Mercury Records. Actually, we were signed in England to a polygram company, but anyways, they were released in the States on Mercury, and Third Man, Jack White's label, Third Man Records, put both those records out on vinyl. So there were vinyl only reissues. And it's sad because those 2 records, for some reason, like Universal owns the rights to them, and they still haven't put them up on iTunes, or they're not on any streaming services in North America. It's the weirdest thing in the world. Because they are on streaming services in other territories, but whatever. This is so boring and weird. But and then yeah, I mean, I don't know. Is this a more industry kind of focused podcast? I don't know. Maybe people are into that stuff.
It's just the nuts and bolts of.
Yeah, just want to hear about you.
Nuts and bolts. Sure. Okay. Well, then your listeners won't be totally bored with international licensing and ownership of said master. But yeah, so there's issues like that with those records because they were on major labels, and the way like labels would all kind of fold into another, and the records have traded hands, and then the people that own it now don't even know they own it. You have to convince them they own it. They're like, no, really, believe me, you own these records. If you didn't own these records, I would be doing something with them otherwise. You own them. Wow. But
do they want to give them back?
Well, no, but they're willing to let Third Man Records like do the vinyl, but they won't let you do CDs and digital. They were always really prickly with digital rights and blah blah blah. But anyway, so hopefully those records will be up. Hopefully those records will be available coming soon, because I now finally have met a few people in the business that supposedly know some people at Universal, and maybe they're going to do something about it for me. And then the 40th anniversary of our first EP, Merge Records put that out, and we have a bunch of records out on Merge now, and it's the first recordings that we did. I was 12 years old. It was we actually recorded it in 1979, but the record, it's a 6-song EP that came out in 1980, and when I was, I guess, still 12, maybe I was 13 by then when it came out, and whatever, and it's been reissued, and it's been in different comps and whatever, and kids have been continuing to get turned on to those 6 songs over the years. Like if I go to, all ages clubs, in different decades, there'll still be like a new crop of kids that are just discovering it. Nowadays, like kids might be discovering alongside with like, whatever, like learning about, whatever, like Bikini Kill at the same time or something. And then they're like, oh, and then there was these group of little kids from like a long time ago, and they had songs like I Hate My School, and Annette's Got the Hits. So anyways, but yeah, so we were excited about documenting that, and I had found in the archives somehow during spring cleaning 2019, I found the original demos we had done prior to that, because we actually, even though I was only 12 years old, we actually went into a proper studio and did demos before we did that record, and it was actually demos that I paid, like the band, the ages of the people in the group, where I was the youngest, I was 12, and then the oldest was a guitar player, he was 18. but I paid for the demos with my paper route money.
Mm-hmm.
So I always think that's fun to tell people that I've always been the guy that even when I was 12. Yeah, I mean, I guess that's one of the definitions of a bass player. Like, well, I guess we have to get a bass. I mean, someone's got to pay for the demo.
Oh,
so anyways, yeah. So that's all that stuff. So I guess, so in coming into 2022, we have Redd Kross have a group of, we have some live dates coming up in Europe that are actually the third time they've been rescheduled now.
Yeah.
Because we were just about to leave in March of 2020 when it all went down.
Yeah.
But so now it's all being delayed till 2022, and originally 2020 was supposed to be like Buzz Osborne was going to do a lot of solo touring. Him and Trevor from Mr. Bungle and also from Melvins was going to go on tour with Buzz, and then Dale and I were going to go out with Redd Kross all of 2020. But now we're going to cram it all together into 2022. So it's going to be a very busy year. Yeah, should be good.
Have you released any of the like where you're going, like the itinerary? Do you know where you're going first, or can that be?
Well, it's on our socials. Like we know we are going to Europe. Like we have dates in Europe starting. It's all of March into April, and then. But as far as the U.S. is concerned, that's probably going to happen more in next summer.
Yeah.
I think Melvins will probably do May and June, and then Redd Kross will do July. I think July, August, or something.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
Some of our listeners might not realize or forgot Redd Kross released Beyond the Door in 2019. Can you talk more about the writing and recording process of that album?
Yeah, you got some good guests.
God, I mean, it seems like a lifetime ago now.
Yeah.
I mean, it kind of happened in the world when I was on tour a lot. I was between doing shows with the Melvins, which were keeping me very busy. Then I was doing shows with Redd Kross also. And then I was playing with another band that I playing sometimes. I don't think moving forward I will be so much anymore. But I was doing a lot of recording with Off. Anyway, so I was just, anytime I had a moment, and I just have like a space in Los Angeles where I rehearse and record, and I've got a space in my house also. And if I wasn't playing, I had a band member in front of a microphone and I was recording them. And I just basically lived, breathed it, ate it, the whole thing.
Yeah.
Puked it, vomited it. And so I did that, and so that was a big chunk of. I guess that was in 2019, and it came out in August, September.
And you got Dale Crover on drums from the Melvins. And
yes, Dale's been playing with us for quite a while now. I've been playing with the Melvins since like 2015, 16.
Yeah.
And then Dale started playing with Redd Kross around 2017, 18, I think, and we've done tours together where Dale and I have done double duties, the two bands. In fact, we actually circumnavigated the globe. Or what did we do? We went to Europe and Australia. I'd never done that before. We go to Europe, and then instead of coming back home, we just kept going east. Like we flew over like some areas that I don't know if you're supposed to fly over, and some like no-fly zones. But at any rate, it was incredible. And, but I'll tell you, jet lag happens either way you go. So we landed in Perth, I think is what we did. And it's still, just as backwards. I was just as completely confused and disoriented.
Jeff, you got
we had a.
Oh, go ahead.
We had a fun layover in Singapore. I remember that. That was exotic.
Oh, cool. I was just going to ask you about, there's a song on there, track number 4, There's No One Like You. You co-wrote it with your wife, Anna. Can you talk a little bit about writing a song together with your wife?
Oh, yeah. There's No One Like You off of Beyond the Door. Yeah, so that song was written with my wife, Anna Warrenker, the great Anna Warrenker from That Dog.
Yeah.
Or Anna Warrenker from the great That Dog. Or the great Anna Warrenker from the even, or not quite as great That Dog. But,
love that first album.
Oh yeah. All their, you don't like the second album?
I'm going to put my foot in my mouth on that
one. What's that?
Oh.
He said he's going to put his foot in his mouth on that one.
Oh, yeah. Well, the second That Dog album is when we started dating. So it's got a special sentimental attachment for me. But we've been together since '95, and actually, I think we married in 2001. So this will be our 20th anniversary coming up. And
cool.
Yeah, and we have a son, Alfie, who is 12 years old now, and I wanted to write a song about Alfie, and so I kind of just ended up basically writing like a Hallmark postcard to him, and lyrics are not necessarily my wheelhouse, as they say, and it definitely is her wheelhouse, and so I knew what I wanted to say, but I needed her to help birth it, to pull it out of me. And so I kind of call her the midwife on that song.
Yeah.
And it does kind of remind me of when she actually gave birth to him, because, I felt like the roles had reversed and she was delivering the song from my body that was writhing in agony. And there was tears, and it was quite an emotional experience. But at any rate, it's very embarrassing to talk about it, but it's true. And anyways, and I think a sweet tune came out of it. But the funny thing is, so we wrote the song, There's No One Like You, and there's a few good kind of like zingy, kind of like, zingers in there, like, some good punchlines to not take itself so seriously. But the sentiment is very real. I love my kid, obviously. But it was funny because my mom hadn't even heard the record, and she gave me my birthday card that year was literally a Hallmark card that said, "Son, there's no one like you." And then she always wants me to read the whole card, and because she likes the sentiment in the card, and I'll read it, and she just sits there and cries. Yeah. So I think I get my sense of corniness from my mom.
Awesome.
Let's change gears a little bit here. You've been in the Melvins for a number of years now. Can you talk about your membership in the band? How did it all come about?
Well, I mean, I've known those guys since the early '90s. When Buzz moved to LA in the early '90s, we had a mutual friend and a really interesting character who's not around anymore, sadly, a guy named Bill Bartell, who is also known as Pat Fear. He was in the band White Flag, and he was just kind of this infamous character. And first time I really remember meeting them, they jammed with Yoko Ono at the Roxy when she was doing a tour with her son. That she had a small 3-piece band called Ema, and they were just awesome. It was with Sean, and Sean had like 2 kids his age that just played this lean, mean sort of like power trio, and they sounded like the first Plastic Ono record, and it just was raw and cool. But at any rate, Buzz and Dale came up and jammed that day because somehow Bill connected him with Sean and Yoko, and that's how I met them. And then Buzz and I used to rap on the phone on occasion, and we had lots of friends. We had a few other friends in common, and just interests in common. And then, but then years later, in this other band I was playing in Off with Keith Morris from Black Flag, our drummer couldn't do a tour, and Dale just happened to be available. So Dale, it was like a 2-week run, and Dale went on this 2-week run with Off, and we just got to talking, and that maybe I should come down and jam, and And so I did, and they were putting together a record at that time called Bases Loaded, and it was basically all about let's put the spotlight on the role in the band that we're constantly rotating. Basically let's put the spotlight on the bass player, the guy who classically plays for the demo.
Yeah.
And that was to reference my earlier joke. Yeah. But and so I think they had 9 or 10 different bass players on that record. It was like basically all the different guys who played on the record, who had been in the band at some point. If you were still alive or still around, then you would play on this record. And I was the new guy, I guess. But and anyway, so that just kind of started that. And it was very, we dated for a while, and we're still just dating,
Oh,
they've got lots of wives. Those on my Facebook profile, I say, I say all the things I do. I work at Redd Kross, and I call myself sister wife number 9 for the Melvins.
Yeah.
Oh, very good. Jeff, you want to take the next one? Or do you want me to take it?
Go ahead.
All right. Well, during the pandemic, you've been participating on Melvins TV. Can you talk more about the creation of Melvins TV and how it all came about?
Well, I think, necessity. What's the old line about necessity breeds innovation? I don't know, whatever. It's need. But, we got to work. And Buzz is very innovative. And that was his brainchild. He came up with this idea of let's do it cheap. Let's just do a bunch of small little episodes. And we've got, let's go and we've got our space. There's, in fact, I was just there today. We hadn't worked for a little bit, but today we got together and we did another installment so there's going to be a 4th installment of Melvins TV. But I maybe I shouldn't say anything. I don't want to give anything away.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's a hint. There might be something more. But it's just been fun. We traipse around Sun Valley, which is a very industrial part of Los Angeles, where the Melvins share a rehearsal studio with Toshi Kasai, who does all of his recording there. It's fun. It's just kind of like, headquarters. It's really Toshi's headquarters, and the Melvins are kind of like, the shining co-stars, and or maybe they're the stars. Well, the Buzz is always the star, but it's whatever. It's like we've got a little clubhouse. We're sort of like, it's like our gang comedy. It's like an our gang comedy, after huffing silver spray paint for a couple of days.
If one of our listeners wants to watch this, is there a way to find a past episode, or do you got to wait till the first
well, I think it's a Veeps is the VEEPS is the the service that's hosted it. So it's like melvins.tv.veeps, I think is what it is.
Okay.
I think I got that right. I'm not sure, but I think currently they're not available. And okay, so here I am spilling the beans again. So I'm not sure. I think with the 4th episode, it's sort of like a greatest hits, but then also you'll be able to watch all the stuff that you paid for in the past. I think it's something like that. It might be something like that. I might be totally fucked. Pardon my French.
Yeah.
I might have it all wrong. I can't be accountable for anything I say, but I was just talking to Trevor Dunn today, and I was talking about he hadn't seen the 3rd episode. And speaking of huffing, I really loved. I don't know if you guys saw that one, but there was this particular part where it was like, "Oh, what's in the mystery box?" And it was all about Dale was going to. Anyways. Yeah, for anybody who watched that, it seems like you might have some Melvins fans. Yeah, so that was I had brought, it was a can, it was this mystery can that we supposedly got at the weed store, but the truth of the matter is it came from my garage, and it was a can of lawn fogger, and Lawn fogger. So so that I spray the lawn. I spray an N95 mask like thoroughly soaked with lawn fogger, which probably like permanently made me sterile. I don't know. It's pretty nasty. But yeah, and then we did a little sleight of hand, a little art of an illusion. It's a little bit of the art of illusion. But Dale actually had a clean N95, but he pretended to be huffing that lawn fogger like there was no tomorrow.
That's awesome.
All right,
it was really a treat.
Going to completely change gears here. In February of 2021, the Melvins released "Working with God." Jeff and I are both huge fans of this album. We both purchased it just recently. Can you talk a little bit more about the recording process of that album? Was anything different?
With God, it's at the Melvins 1983 record. Yeah. I'm not really on that record. I might be on a little bit, but yeah, it is very different because it's they're working with their original drummer and oh god, I'm having a brain freeze. His name Dillard, maybe?
Yeah, Mike
right?
Dillard. Yeah,
Mike Dillard. Mike Dillard's playing drums on that, and Dale is playing bass.
Yes.
And then
Dale is like,
you were on the Dale. Yeah, you were. Yeah, but you contributed ever so little bit to that album, correct?
I don't know. We're constantly doing shit. Like I'm there, and then they're just like, "Here, Steve, get in front of that microphone. Do this," and then I'll be like, "Okay." They'll put they wind me up, and I it's like I'm like a wind up doll. They're like, "You're on," and they're like, "Okay," and then the next thing you know, I'm on. Working with God. Do you guys actually know what song I'm on? Because I don't remember. Because I kind of get them mixed up.
I'm not quite sure, but I know that your name is in the credits on there. But I wasn't paying quite attention to exactly what song it was.
For instance, like when we did, I love being in the Melvins, and I take it seriously. I'm not trying to represent I'm not taking it seriously or whatever, but when we were doing Melvins TV, for instance, those were actually, we just went in and did a bunch of things. And then, Buzz, came, he figured out what to do with it. And then gave some of it to our web guy, Jesse, and they started cutting shit together. And so, I didn't know, when did we do that? Is that from this or is that from that? I could kind of just tell, oh, right, that's when I wore that orange suit. Okay, I think I remember that, or whatever, but a lot of them were from different times, and especially when you speak about COVID, it's like it all kind of blends in together.
Yeah. Well, I was just going to ask about when you're going on tour, they have such a large song base to pull from. Do you get involved with picking the set list at all for a show?
Sometimes, it was mostly early on they just came up with 50 songs and they just kind of jumped me into it, and because it's not like learning it's not like Satisfaction 5 different ways. It's a little bit involved. I don't know. Satisfaction 5 different ways might be difficult, challenging too, but I don't know. I used to remember the first time Buzz was playing some of the songs for me, and I was just like, what the hell is he doing? Wait, this riff? Wait, you're still playing the main riff? Wait, what the hell? And how many bars is that? That's and what? And they'd be like, how do you count that? I don't know. How do you count? I don't know. That's just what I do. I don't know. Okay. Yeah, I don't know if any of you are musician type, but it's sometimes, I always, when I'm not like Mr. Theory or anything, but it does help to find the one, to know where the one is sometimes.
Yeah.
And especially as a bass player, you kind of find yourself relying on that a lot. And he's constantly disguising that goddamn one. So you can't always tell which bar we're in. But point is being, I was a little overwhelmed at first.
Yeah.
So at first it was just kind of like, okay, it just kind of washed over me. It was like, bring it on. And we just, got in deep. And then, nowadays, I mean, I'll be like, I don't know. I don't know. I'm trying to think what songs I like to play the most.
Yeah.
I like to play I don't know, just the classics, whatever people get excited about. I'm excited to play. I like to play covers too. I really enjoyed our version of "I Want to Hold Your Hand," which was really kind of the Moving Sidewalks version of "I Want to Hold Your Hand."
Yeah.
And but I love playing their tunes. Like I'm tuning down my low. The stuff we did with Jeff was fun, and Sesame Street Meet, where it's just like the strings are just barely they're just flopping everywhere. They're just like these loose noodles on the guitar, they're barely any tension, and it's been a lot of interesting experiences because that's the kind of feeling you'd have in a weird nightmare, where you're your feet, where you're walking, the cliches, and then my feet were sinking into the sludge and I couldn't move, and it's and then the strings on my bass felt like noodles, and they were so loose and I couldn't, and then someone sprayed all this lawn fogger into a mask. That's what it's like playing with the Melvins.
With that being said, go ahead, Jeff. Take that.
Yeah, so you were involved with their album "Walk with Love and Death," and that was a double album. So was there any added? Yeah. I guess is there any added pressure with doing a double album or coming up with extra songs?
Well, you kind of cut out. Was there any extra pressure in what?
Well, with coming up with a double album, how does that work for the band? Coming up with that.
Oh, yeah, I don't know. I mean, but Buzz is he's like his creative well is deep. He's always he's got stuff going on, and but they're very welcoming to any contribution I have, and I think that. But that record also has a lot of. Is that the record that's got a lot of? That's the one that's got a whole side of noise jams too.
Yeah.
It's Pacoima Normal. That was one of my favorites. Pacoima Normal. Pacoima is an area. It's a very industrial area right next to Sun Valley where we have our rehearsal place. So, anyways, Pacoima Normal is very funny to me. But so they had been working. I think they had been working on those noise jams for a long time. I think that had been a side project that him and Toshi had been kind of doing now and again. So they found a place to use that on that record as well. And I mean, it's kind of like on one level, I would think we haven't done a new album of new material in a while. But then I'm realizing. But it's not like there's been tons of stuff still. There's been lots of releases, and there's going to be more coming up. And it's they're just it's like a master class in creative workflow.
Yeah.
It's I don't know. I recently started trying to write some of this crap down. And when I say this crap, I mean my life. And and I thought maybe my first couple of years of being in a band would make a good book if I could remember some of it. And so I started writing about it, and then a friend of mine gave me this book from the 90s. It's very new agey called The Artist Way. And it's got these different exercises, a 12-week program, how to untap that block, that creative block in you. And I often think about Buzz Osborne, dude, you could have written this book, or is that your secret? Because it's one of the most recent affirmations that I read was it was sort of oh, great creator, I'll handle the quality. No, I'll handle the quantity. You handle the quality.
Yeah.
That was like a prayer to the great creator. And I was like, yeah, that sounds like Buzz all the way. He's got the I think he's been on this one. But, he should do his own version of it, because I've been listening to the audiobook while I've been reading this book, and it's like so psychedelic because it's just very new age. It's just I get embarrassed. But so we could use his version. Like, I don't know quite how you would translate it into Buzzisms, but I'm sure he could do it in half a second.
I did want to kind of touch base with you. The last time we saw you live with the Melvins, you guys were doing the dual bass thing with Jeff Pincus. Can you talk about the whole creative process behind having dual bass players?
Yeah.
Because what we saw you guys, it was thunderous. Yeah. That's all I could say.
It was thunderous. Well, it's very in Melvins, classic Melvins sort of style. It's just like, I'd be like, well, yeah, okay, well, bass is pretty, it's those, I started talking technically, like, well, the waveforms are really big, and so you kind of, and they're like, yeah, and Buzz and Dale just kind of look at me with a blank stare, like, what? Like, because I was like, oh, well, we have to be really precise, or it's going to get, kind of murky, and they're like, what? Let's do it. Let's just do it. And hey, wait, what's the big deal? Yeah, let's make it happen. And so that's basically what we did. We just kind of went in the rehearsal room, and Jeff is, Jeff's amazing. He's he's a very sweet man, and he's really talented. And he just kind of like just turned on his Pog, which is like this kind of, I don't know what it is. It's a Maestro Pog. I think it's like like an octave multiplier and a harmonizer, and it's basically like having three bass players by itself.
Oh, wow.
It's got the brown sound below your sound, and then a few browner ones below that, and designed to massage your bells, your bells, and so he just started playing that, and so I was like, okay. Well, I guess I'll play the octave above that. Wait, no, that's a little dark. Well, I'll play 2 octaves above that. So that's when I pulled out my 1984 BC Rich Warlock, and it's got like 24 frets. And so I spent a lot of time like way up really high on the neck to try to, keep it, from rubbing in a unpleasant way. I mean, rub seems like a perfect way to be in the Melvins, to be kind of rubbing the audience in an abrasive way. But at the same time, I wanted it to retain a lot of the musicality. So, I tried to be mindful, and and Jeff was pretty mindful too, I think. We worked out some stuff, and so sometimes we would take octaves, or we go into harmony, but a lot of unison too, and there was definitely a lot of room for us just to kind of like do our own stuff. It's just that it's like, I'm more of a traditionalist, and I'm thinking like, well, basses, it's not like guitars, it's like having dual soloists, because their frequencies are, they're higher and they don't take up as much space. But and being worried about it sounding like, well, if we're doing different things and we're low and we're both low and we're doing different things, it's just going to sound muddy. But then the answer I would get in the Melvins room, and they would be like, so? Or more like, so? I was like, oh, right, yeah, right, okay, yeah. Well, that's fine. So that's kind of it. So that's kind of the process. It was a process of that was sort of my journey, what I just described, of like thinking those different things, and then it eventually, so maybe the first set of dates weren't all that smooth. And it's funny, I think like Southern California always kind of gets like, it's always, like San Diego always gets the weirdest shows. I don't want to say shitty, because in some ways they're probably the best shows, but they're definitely where you're working the kinks out. And I don't remember how our routing went on that particular tour, but I'm sure it started in San Diego. And but by the time we get to Rock Island, it's it was a well-oiled bowel massaging machine.
Yeah, for sure. Jeff, you got the next one?
Yeah, I was just going to say, you've alluded to your other band a couple of times, the band Off. Can you talk a little bit about their origins and how that band came to be?
Well, Off, I had known Keith Morris since I was 11 years old. When I saw he was in Black Flag. He was the first singer of Black Flag, and I saw Black Flag play their first ever show, and I met him soon after. And that's when Redd Kross were first starting, and we were known as the Tourist at the time, which was a reference to going to the beach but not living near the beach, and all the surfers who were territorial about the real estate on the waves.
Yeah.
If you didn't live on the Strand, then you were considered a tourist, and you were supposed to get off their waves. So we were embracing that title. But at any rate, so back in the Tourist days, I met Keith, and I played all my first shows because we soon became Redd Kross after that, and we changed drummers and changed their name, and Keith and I. So that's really 1979, and Black Flag and Redd Kross did a bunch of shows in '79. But by the end of '79, Keith had left Black Flag, and then our guitar player in Redd Kross, Greg Hetson, left Redd Kross, and Keith and Greg formed the Circle Jerks by 1980, and then I didn't talk to Keith for about 20 years, and then I talked to him a lot more. I just didn't see him around, and we'd hang out, and it was nice to see him. And then eventually he asked me if I wanted to come down and check out this new band he was putting together.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Fantastic. All right, so I have one last question for you. It was like a couple years ago. I always watched that Amoeba Records What's in My Bag episodes on YouTube, and I came across there was an episode with you and your brother on there, and I was kind of curious to know, how does that all work for you guys? Do you guys get the invitation? Do you have to apply to get on the episode of What's in My Bag, or how did it all work?
Oh, well, Amoeba's our local record shop,
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you're like a touring band, I don't know, but I mean, like, we're an LA band, and but I'm sure it went through a booking agent or something, or that probably went through we have a publicist, and that was around the time that we were putting on a record or something, and so yeah. But I've done it with the Melvins too. Melvins have a publicist, and but that's a store that I have friends that work there, and that's where I would go to find a new record, and so it's a pretty natural fit for me to end up being as a part of that series. But but if you're talking to like another person trying to get on that, I would say. Talk to your record label if you have one. If you don't have one, then talk to your publicist. And if you don't have one of those, then you should look into getting a publicist.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, how cool is it? You go on there and they give you X amount of dollars worth of free merch.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. They give you a it's awesome. They give you a gift certificate and let you go shopping, and then, it's fun to, obviously, once again, using that comparison that I made earlier, that you can just wind me up and then, put a camera in front of me and rah, 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 and try to say something funny about some REO Speedwagon, record that I found in the used bin, and hopefully it all turns out okay.
Oh, so cool.
Yeah.
We've kind of ran out of our allotted time, but is there anything that you would like to plug or promote that we did not cover for this evening?
Well, I'd like to promote world peace. I'd like to. No, I mean, of course, I love world peace, but that's always. That's my birthday, whatever. That's my little joke.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think I've done all the plugging. I'm afraid to plug Melvin stuff because I'm afraid I'm going to give something away that I'm not supposed to talk about.
Yes.
And then with Redd Kross, just that if you're in Europe, look for our dates for March 2022. They're rescheduled from 2020. We're really excited to come see you. And let's all celebrate weathering this crazy pandemic. We made it out. Let's have a good time together soon.
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. Well, this is how it's going to work. We have a few episodes to release before yours, and once Jeff gets it all edited, we're looking about 3 weeks, and then once it's all edited, I'll make sure you get the edited interview immediately.
Cool.
All right, man.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much.
You.
Take care.
You too.
Right.
Thanks. Bye.
Good night.
Good night.
If they ever take from you, then you plug out